The last letter from the shore. The morning David laid the papers on the kitchen table. Margaret Collins couldn't pick up the pen. The cover sheet read Assisted Living Facility Admission Agreement. She noticed that his hands were steady as he slid it toward her. That steadiness frightened her more than the words on the page. "Mom, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And I need to be honest with you. Living alone isn't safe anymore. You left the stove on last month. You missed 3 days of medication, and the neighbors called me twice. I have work, and Lisa just can't keep coming over every other day. The facility is really good. I drove out there myself. They have activities, medical staff on site, the whole thing." David spoke to the window. Not to her. He was her son. 37 years of him. The boy she drove to every baseball practice. Every recital, every early morning before the rest of the town woke up. The young man whose college tuition she'd worked overtime to cover for 3 straight years. And now here he was, summarizing her life into a signature line. The pen sat waiting on the paper. Margaret did not reach for it. "David, Mom, just sign it. I'll handle everything else. Before I do anything I want to go to Santa Barbara. To the beach where your father and I used to go. One day. That's all I'm asking." David paused. He exhaled slowly through his nose. If that sound had been directed at you, what would you have felt? It was the sound of inconvenience. The exhale of a man who felt that his time was being wasted. The last wish of a woman who had given 37 years of herself. Reduced in one breath to a scheduling problem. Margaret held that sound quietly inside her chest. That evening she packed alone. Into an old canvas travel bag she placed a light spring jacket, her medication case, and a worn leather notebook. She had kept at the back of her nightstand drawer for 3 years without opening. Robert had given her that notebook 6 months before he died. "Take this to the beach in Santa Barbara when you go. Only open it there. Promise me." She hadn't understood what he meant. He was weak from his second round of chemotherapy, and she would have agreed to anything he asked. So she promised and put it away. 3 years later, it had not been opened. The next morning she left without telling David. She drove herself down the coast. The Pacific came into view as she crossed into Santa Barbara County. That deep cold blue that she and Robert had always agreed was one of the best things in California. She found parking near the beach they had always used. The one with the curved rock formation at one end and the kelp beds visible just offshore. She sat in the car for a moment before getting out. The salt air hit her when she opened the door. That smell, always the same. Everything else in 20 years had changed. But this smell was still exactly what it had been when she and Robert first came here together. She walked slowly down to the sand. Her knees ached on the uneven ground. But she did not stop. This beach held 40 years of memory and she needed all of it right now. She and Robert had come here on their honeymoon. Young and slightly sunburned and absolutely certain that the future was going to be extraordinary. Robert had written their names in the wet sand near the waterline. And the next wave had erased them. And he had laughed and said it didn't matter because they weren't going anywhere. She had brought David here when he was 7. He had cried when a wave knocked over his sandcastle. And Robert had told him that everything worth building gets knocked over at least once. And the point is to build it again. David had sniffled and started digging immediately. They had all laughed. And 4 years ago, when Robert was coming toward the end of his treatment, and they both knew it, they had driven down here one last time and sat exactly where she was sitting now. A flat piece of driftwood half buried in the sand, just above the tide line. "Promise me you'll keep coming here," he had said. "I promise. And promise me you'll be okay." She had not answered that one directly. She had squeezed his hand instead. She pulled the notebook from her bag. The cover was worn soft from years of being handled, though she hadn't opened it once. She ran her thumb along the spine. Then she opened to the first page. A sealed envelope slid out. On the front, in Robert's handwriting, "Open only at the beach." Only there. Her hands were unsteady. She opened it. Inside were 2 pages, handwritten, in the careful, deliberate script of a man who knew that words committed to paper would outlast everything else. His handwriting was tighter than usual, more controlled. She recognized that effort. He was fighting the tremor. She read the first line and stopped. "Maggie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if you're reading this at the beach, Then something is happening with David and you're looking for a way through it. I know you. I know him. So let me tell you what I know. She read it twice. The house is in your name. I moved everything into your name alone about 10 years ago, quietly. And I want you to understand that was intentional. The investment accounts are the same. 3 of them, your name only. David knows this. He had a conversation with our financial advisor without telling either of us. Sandra called me afterward and told me. I did not tell David that she told me. But I changed the advisor immediately. And made sure everything was locked correctly. Do not sign anything he presents to you. Without having your own attorney present. Not one page. Margaret set the letter in her lap. She listened to the waves for a long time. The second page was harder to read. Last spring, David called my oncologist's office and asked to speak with Dr. Reeves privately. He wanted to know my timeline. Dr. Reeves told him professionally that she couldn't disclose that. But she called me afterward. He also asked her, in that same conversation, whether our estate was likely to go through probate. She didn't answer that either, but she wanted me to know it had been asked. I sat with that for a few weeks. I thought about confronting him. But I decided that was not what I wanted to spend my energy on. I spent it on making sure you were protected instead. You always came first. That was never something I had to decide. It was just the way things were. Margaret did not look up from the letter for a long time. Her son had called her husband's doctor to ask how long he had left. And in the same call had asked about their estate. And Robert had found out and said nothing, had sat across the dinner table from their son. Through the final months, had carried that knowledge alone. And had spent his last good weeks making sure she was safe. The waves came in and went out. She did not cry right away. The grief was too dense for that. It sat in her chest like something that had not yet decided what form to take. She took out her phone. She found David's name. She did not call. Instead, she opened her photos. She went back to the oldest ones. David at 7 on this very beach, laughing with sand on his face. She looked at his eyes in that picture for a long time. She could not connect the man who had called the oncologist with the child in that photograph. She was not sure whether that was a failure of understanding, or simply the nature of people. Then she found the last photo of Robert at this beach. He was thin. His hair was almost gone. He was holding her hand and facing the camera and smiling with his whole face. Below the photo, in the caption field that she had never noticed before, was something he must have typed himself. None of it meant anything without her. She pressed the phone against her chest. She did not make a sound. The ocean accepted all of it on her behalf. She did not know how long she sat there. The sun moved. The tide shifted. The air stayed exactly the same cool salt temperature. It always was on this stretch of coast in April. When she finally stood, she brushed the sand from her coat, picked up her bag, folded the letter back into the notebook, and took out her phone one more time. She searched for estate attorneys in Santa Barbara. 2 days later, she was back home. David did not know she had gone anywhere. Mom, the facility coordinator called. They need the paperwork by end of this week. I can come by tonight. His text arrived while Margaret was sitting in the attorney's office. The title documents spread across the table in front of her, every account confirmed and intact, exactly as Robert had described. The house was hers alone. The accounts were hers alone. David had known this, and he had still brought her the papers. The attorney asked whether she intended to contact her son. Margaret looked out the window at the California afternoon. The sky was the same blue it always was. Not yet, she said. I need some time to think about what I want. That's entirely your decision. When she stepped out of the attorney's office, she felt something shift in her posture. Her shoulders dropped into a position they hadn't been in for a long time. She was not less afraid. She was something more durable than unafraid. That evening she opened the box at the back of her closet, where she kept Robert's things. The photos, the letters he had written her over the years, the small journal he kept during treatment. At the back of the box she found one more envelope. On the front, in his handwriting for David. She held it for a long time. She did not open it. It was not hers to open. If this story reached something in you today, please subscribe to this channel. Every week we bring you stories that live in the quiet places, where real life happens. We'll be here.